Have you ever wondered why your thoughts still race endlessly despite trying to calm your mind with meditation? You sit down, close your eyes, and instead of peace, you feel more restless than ever. It almost feels like your mind is against you. But what if I told you that the problem isn't you? The problem is how we've misunderstood meditation. What if the secret to true inner calm isn't about silencing the mind, but about understanding it, like a psychologist would? Most people think meditation means fighting thoughts or forcing yourself into stillness. But science shows something very different. Your thoughts are not enemies. They are signals. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are data. The real art of meditation is learning how to observe these signals and data without drowning in them. And when we combine this psychological perspective with meditation, something extraordinary happens. The mind doesn't just quiet down, it begins to reorganize itself, creating lasting calm. The human brain is wired to survive, not to relax. Evolution shaped it to scan for threats, anticipate danger, and constantly prepare for problems. That's why when you sit still, your mind keeps running. It is doing what it was designed to do. But here's the paradox. The same brain that keeps us anxious is also capable of deep peace. The question is, how do we switch from survival mode into calm mode? Meditation, when seen through the lens of psychology, gives us the tools. One of the most powerful insights from psychology is the concept of metacognition, thinking about thinking. In meditation, metacognition is like stepping outside your mind and watching it work. You don't try to control every thought. Instead, you become aware of the process itself. This shift is profound. Imagine standing on the shore, watching waves rise and fall. The waves are your thoughts. The observer is your awareness. When you learn to sit as the observer, the waves don't drown you anymore. Now, let's bring in science. Brain imaging studies show that during meditation, the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for mind wandering and self-referential thinking, begins to quiet down. This network is often hyperactive in people with anxiety or depression. But when you meditate, especially with a psychologist's understanding, you reduce the activity in this network. You are rewiring your brain for calm. So, how do you meditate like a psychologist? The first step is shifting your perspective. Instead of saying, "I need to stop thinking," you say, "I am here to study my thoughts." This one change transforms meditation from a battle into an exploration. The moment you stop fighting your mind, you start understanding it. And understanding creates peace. Let's go deeper. Emotions often disrupt meditation. You try to sit quietly, but a memory triggers sadness, or an unresolved worry stirs anxiety. A traditional approach might say, detach, ignore, let go. But psychology says emotions carry information. They are messages from the unconscious. The Stoics said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Psychology updates this by saying, emotions are not reality itself. They are your brain's interpretation of reality. If you treat emotions as data, meditation becomes a laboratory. Instead of running away, you study. Why do I feel this tension? What does this sadness want me to see? By asking, you turn discomfort into insight. Here's an example. Imagine you're meditating, and suddenly a memory surfaces of a time you were rejected. You feel shame. Most people would try to push the memory away. But a psychologist would say, lean in. Observe the physical sensations, tightness in the chest, heat in the face. Notice the thoughts. I'm not good enough. Then ask, is this shame reflecting truth, or is it a pattern my brain learned long ago? This question is liberating. Suddenly, you are not the shame. You are the one observing shame. And that separation creates calm. Breath is another key, not because it magically stops thoughts, but because it anchors awareness in the present. Psychology shows that deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode. It lowers cortisol, slows the heart, and signals safety to the brain. When you breathe intentionally, you're not just calming the body. You're teaching the brain that it's safe to relax. Over time, this rewires the stress response. That's why even a few minutes of mindful breathing each day can create long-term resilience. But meditation, like a psychologist, isn't just about awareness and breath. It's also about reframing. Cognitive psychology teaches us that the way we interpret events shapes our emotions more than the events themselves. In meditation, reframing becomes a practice. A thought like, "I always fail," doesn't have to be believed. It can be observed, reframed. This is my brain predicting based on fear, not reality. The moment you reframe, the emotional weight begins to dissolve. Another powerful practice is journaling right after meditation. Why? Because meditation opens the unconscious. Thoughts and emotions rise to the surface. If you capture them on paper, you can analyze them with clarity. This turns meditation from a fleeting state of peace into a tool for long-term self-understanding. Many psychologists recommend this combination. Meditate, then write. Together, they create a cycle of awareness, reflection, and growth. Still, meditation is not about perfection. Sometimes you'll sit and feel restless the entire time. But psychology reminds us that resistance itself is part of the process. The moment you notice, "I'm restless," you are already meditating. You've become the observer. And that shift, even for a second, rewires the brain. Science backs this up. Studies on mindfulness-based stress reduction show significant decreases in anxiety, depression, and even chronic pain for people who practice regularly. But the secret is consistency, not intensity. 10 minutes every day is far more powerful than 1 hour once a week. The brain changes through repetition. Just as muscles grow with consistent training, inner calm grows with consistent meditation. What truly makes meditation, like a psychologist, so transformative is that it doesn't aim to escape life. It prepares you to live it more fully. When you learn to watch thoughts without being ruled by them, when you treat emotions as data instead of threats, when you anchor yourself in breath and reframe limiting beliefs, you don't just find peace on the cushion. You carry it into your relationships, your work, your decisions. You stop reacting blindly and start responding wisely. Think about it. How different would your life feel if you could pause before reacting, observe your emotions without drowning in them, and make choices with clarity instead of fear? That is the gift of meditation viewed through psychology. It's not about escaping the human mind. It's about mastering it. Now that we understand the foundations, let's explore practical ways to meditate like a psychologist, turning theory into a daily habit. The first technique is the observe without judgment method. During meditation, notice every thought and feeling that arises, but label it neutrally. Thinking, worrying, planning, remembering. The brain responds to this labeling by reducing emotional intensity. Neuroscience shows that naming emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, the reasoning part of the brain, and decreases amygdala reactivity, which governs fear and stress. This is how a few words can create mental distance and calm. Next is guided cognitive visualization. Picture a situation that usually triggers stress or anxiety. Instead of suppressing it, visualize it fully, what you see, hear, feel. Then, imagine yourself responding calmly and rationally, integrating breath, presence, and perspective. This practice trains the mind to respond rather than react. Psychologists call this mental rehearsal, and it's been shown to improve emotional regulation, decision-making, and confidence. By practicing in the mind first, the body and brain become conditioned to respond with resilience in real life. Another strategy is focusing on the present moment through sensory awareness. Pay attention to sounds, textures, and sensations in your body. Notice the temperature of the air, the feeling of your feet on the floor, and the subtle rise and fall of your chest. Research in mindfulness psychology demonstrates that sensory grounding reduces rumination and worry, improves concentration, and strengthens the mind-body connection. This anchors you to now, preventing the pull of past regrets or future anxieties. A fourth technique is structured breathwork. Use a pattern like 4-count inhale, 4-count hold, 6-count exhale. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowers cortisol, and signals safety to the body. Breathing exercises also provide a physical anchor for the wandering mind. Every time attention drifts, gently return to the breath. This repetition is key. It strengthens self-regulation and increases awareness of thought patterns, exactly how psychologists teach emotional mastery. Journaling after meditation is another powerful tool. Immediately write down observations, what thoughts surfaced, what emotions appeared, and any patterns you notice. Then reflect. What does this reveal about my mind? Are there recurring fears, desires, or judgments? This creates a feedback loop, combining introspection with behavioral insight. Over time, patterns emerge, habits are understood, and choices become more conscious. The mind evolves from reactive to reflective. Psychologists also encourage integrating meditation into daily micro-moments. Not every session needs to be 30 minutes long. Even a 1-minute pause before responding to an email, driving, or having a conversation can cultivate awareness. During these brief moments, check in with your breath, notice any tension, and identify what your mind is doing. Tiny, consistent practices create massive long-term neural changes. The brain is plastic, and every mindful moment rewires thought circuits toward calm, clarity, and intentional action. Now let's talk about acceptance and self-compassion. Many struggle with meditation because they judge themselves for not doing it right. Psychology shows that self-criticism amplifies stress and reduces neuroplastic benefits. Instead, approach meditation like a curious scientist exploring the mind. Treat every distraction, every wandering thought, as data, not failure. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." Psychology updates this. Be tolerant with yourself as you practice, strict with attention and curiosity toward the process. The moment you embrace this mindset, frustration dissolves and calm deepens. Integrating emotion-focused insight is another layer. As thoughts and feelings arise, ask, what is this emotion signaling? Anxiety might indicate a boundary being tested. Sadness could reflect unmet needs or values. Curiosity, excitement, or desire provides information about goals or priorities. Meditation becomes not just calmness, but intelligence, the ability to map your inner landscape and make conscious choices. The brain learns that emotions are tools, not threats. Consistency is the hidden key. Research consistently shows that daily meditation, even for 10 minutes, produces structural changes in the brain. Increased gray matter in regions related to emotional regulation, attention, and decision-making. Functional MRI studies reveal enhanced connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, meaning the reasoning part of your brain can effectively modulate emotional reactions. The more you practice, the stronger this pathway becomes, until calm and clarity are no longer occasional, they are your baseline. Let's put it all together. Start with a daily meditation session. Sit comfortably, anchor in your breath, observe without judgment, label thoughts and emotions, visualize constructive responses, and reflect afterward in a journal. Integrate micro-meditations throughout your day. Embrace self-compassion, understanding that every session is a learning opportunity. Observe the signals of your mind, treat them as data, and allow reason and insight to guide your actions. This is meditation, scientifically informed, psychologically smart, and deeply transformative. Imagine how your life would change if, instead of reacting impulsively, you could respond calmly, even under stress. Relationships would improve, decisions would feel clearer. Anxiety would no longer dictate your day. You would develop a deep, stable inner sanctuary, accessible anytime, anywhere. This is not a distant ideal. It is a skill that can be cultivated now. So, I want to ask you, how would your life look if you approached every challenge with the calm awareness of a trained psychologist, fully present, fully observing, and fully in control of your inner world? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your reflection may inspire someone else to take their first step toward mindful inner mastery. Remember, meditation is not about escaping life. It is about entering it fully, armed with awareness, understanding, and resilience. Each session strengthens the mind, calms the emotions, and builds the foundation for a life lived with intention. Consistency, curiosity, and compassion are your guides. Embrace them, and the chaos of the world will no longer control your inner peace. If this video helped you, hit like, share with someone who struggles to find calm, and subscribe for more psychology-based strategies for emotional mastery. You have the power to transform not only your thoughts, but your life. Begin today and step into a world of clarity, calm, and conscious living.